Hello everyone, and welcome to this audio podcast. This audio podcast synopsis as part of the conglomerate. This audio podcast synopsis as part of a lobostic shitstorm. This audio podcast as a synopsis as part of a storm and battle and chronicle. This audio podcast as synopsis as part of the series of the Ztormish. And this audio podcast synopsis as part of a Storm Lobostics production. In this audio podcast synopsis, listeners and viewers, is and will be a look in around some important sort of healthcare conditions pertaining to nephrology or kidney care, and where these are particular conditions or healthcare conditions that can affect both pediatrics and young people, and can also affect the in around those amongst the adult healthcare population. So in this audio podcast, there will be sort of a snapshot looking at focuses in pertaining to the following sort of conditions, or following healthcare and sort of nephrology and kidney sort of related or regarding conditions. Initially looking at an audio podcast in around Alports or Alport syndrome. I look at autosomal polycystic kidney disease or ADPKD. And then I look at sort of in around an important immunobiological and immunobiological biomarker referred to as CXCR3, where CXCR3 is a chemokine receptor. And then I look at the condition, a healthcare condition which is known in amongst literature, for example, that affects a great many in amongst the healthcare and in the adult healthcare population, and again in around pediatrics and young people, and that is in pertaining to focal segmental glomerulosclerosis or FSGS. And then a look at hydronephrosis, and then I look at an audio podcast in on IgA nephropathy, and then sort of additional look at laboratory tests, biomarkers, and investigations, and then I look at a particular another biomarker that had been used in sort of laboratory, as part of laboratory investigations, to mimic in around particular particular sort of disease or condition under and in through laboratory in as part of laboratory environment, and where the biomarker have been used to mimic in laboratory animals to identify sort of pathways for alleviating particular sort of tubular or sort of pathogenesis, a sort of detriment in around parts of the kidney or kidney pathology. And so this audio podcast, a particular audio podcast, will look at nephrotoxic nephritis, and look at sort of we'll have a focus in around glomerulosclerosis, and in around the audio podcast. And then there will be an audio podcast in around pyelonephritis, and looking at acute pyelonephritis as a symptomology. And then a look at vascular endothelial growth factor, vascular endothelial growth factor, which is is and has been sort of an important sort of growth factor or aspect of growth factor to understand sort of how certain vessels, certain blood vessels, and certain blood vessels in around the kidneys, and in around sort of the kidney or renal infrastructure is and can be affected and as part of as part of sort of general renal pathology. So those would be the sort of focuses in around this audio podcast this audio podcast series. The RPSG to also inform the RPSG organization have the full sort of presentation, full sort of overviews in around these, and are accessible through the RPSG. At the same time, since there have been collaborations between the RPSG and Storm Robotics, some of the overviews as full sort of presentations are in as part of Storm Robotics social media, Storm Robotics social media as well. But however, again, this audio podcast will have a sort of a snapshot in around these particular focuses. That draws this audio podcast synopsis to a close. This audio podcast is part of the conglomerate. This audio podcast is part of a Lobostic shitstorm. This audio podcast is part of a Storm and Battle Chronicle. This audio podcast is part of the Ztormish series, and this Ztormish series, and this synopsis as part of a Storm Robotics production.